The sound of a silver spoon tapping against crystal cut through the air, sharp and demanding. It was the only sound in the room that was not dripping with excess. We were standing in the main ballroom of the Vanderbilt estate in Newport, Rhode Island. Above us, 3 massive chandeliers, each probably worth more than my annual salary, cast a relentless, glittering light on 300 guests. My mother, Patricia, stood at the head table. She was wearing a dress that cost $4,000, bought with money she did not actually have, refinancing her home to pay for a wedding she could not afford. She raised her champagne flute, her eyes shining with tears that looked almost genuine. "To Brianna," she said, her voice trembling just enough to be touching. "My beautiful daughter. Watching you today, seeing the perfection of this love, it makes everything worth it. You are everything a mother could dream of." Applause rippled through the room. Polite, expensive applause. Brianna, the bride, beamed. She looked like a princess in a gown that had its own Instagram hashtag. She soaked up the adoration like a sponge soaking up water, expanding with every compliment. Then, my mother turned her gaze. The spotlight shifted, and it landed directly on me. "And Jennifer," she said. The room quieted. "We are so glad you could take time away from your busy career to join us." There was a pause, a beat of silence designed to make everyone uncomfortable. "Watching your sister today. So happy, so complete, it just makes me wonder, when is it going to be your turn? Or is that job of yours really enough to keep you warm at night?" The silence that followed was not polite anymore, it was absolute. 300 faces turned toward me. Pity, amusement, judgment. It was a public execution disguised as a toast. My mother smiled, a tight, triumphant little expression. She thought she had me. She thought I would shrink, or cry, or maybe just leave, cementing my role as the bitter, lonely spinster sister. But I did not flinch, I did not look down, I just smiled back. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a crisis manager who just found the kill switch on a bomb. Before I tell you what I did next, drop a yes in the comments if your family has ever used a public celebration to humiliate you. I want to know who else is part of this club. I did not storm out. I did not throw my drink. I did not give them the satisfaction of a reaction they could label hysterical. Instead, I raised my own glass, just slightly, acknowledging the toast. "To Brianna," I said, my voice calm and carrying perfectly across the silent room. "May your life be as perfect as this wedding." It was not a blessing, it was a challenge. I watched my mother blink, confused by my lack of visible injury. She expected blood. I gave her grace. She turned back to Brianna, flustered, and the room exhaled, the tension dissolving into nervous chatter and the clink of silverware. Inside, however, I was not feeling grace. I was feeling the cold, familiar hum of assessment. I am a crisis PR manager in Manhattan. My job is to take disasters like corporate scandals, political implosions, and celebrity meltdowns, and contain the blast radius. I do not panic. I assess liabilities. I formulate strategies. And right now, my family was the liability. I looked at my mother, Patricia. She was fawning over Brianna, adjusting a stray curl, whispering something that made Brianna giggle. It was a performance of intimacy, designed for an audience. For years, I wondered why she hated me. I was the successful one. I was the one who paid my bills on time, who never needed bailing out, who built a career from nothing. Brianna was a mess. She was 26, calling herself a lifestyle influencer but mostly influencing her credit card debt. She lived in chaos. But then I realized the truth. Psychologists call it the narcissistic supply tax. My mother did not love Brianna despite the mess. She loved her because of it. Brianna's constant crises were fuel. Every time Brianna needed money, or emotional support, or a rescue, it validated my mother's existence. It made her feel necessary. It made her the martyr hero of her own soap opera. I, on the other hand, was independent. I solved my own problems. I did not need her, and to a narcissist, not being needed feels exactly like being abandoned. My competence was an insult. My stability was boring. I offered her no supply, so she taxed me with cruelty instead. Brianna knew this. She played the role of the helpless princess perfectly, feeding my mother's ego in exchange for having every mistake erased. And the latest mistake was a big one. Before the wedding, Brianna had started a whisper campaign. I heard it from a cousin in the bathroom. Brianna told everyone, including my parents, the extended family, and even her bridesmaids, that I had refused to help pay for the wedding because I was jealous. She said I told her she did not deserve happiness. It was a lie. A strategic, damaging lie, designed to explain why my parents were drowning in debt to pay for this spectacle, while I, the rich sister, contributed nothing. It painted me as the villain before I even walked through the door. My mother believed it, of course. It fit her narrative, the cold, career-obsessed older sister punishing the golden child. I watched them now, laughing together at the head table. They looked like a perfect unit, the mother and the daughter she chose. They did not know I was watching them not as a sister, but as a spin doctor watching a client self-destruct. They did not know that while they were busy building this house of cards, I had been quietly collecting the wind. I took a sip of my champagne. It was warm. I turned and walked toward the terrace doors. I needed fresh air. And I needed to make a phone call. The narrative was about to change. I pushed open the French doors and stepped out onto the stone terrace. The air was cool, smelling of salt and expensive landscaping. Inside, the party raged on, a blur of music and laughter, but out here, it was quiet. I walked to the railing and looked out at the ocean. It was dark, vast, and indifferent. My mother's question echoed in my mind. When is it going to be your turn? I could have told her the truth right then. I could have pulled out my phone and shown her the photos. I could have said it was my turn 8 months ago. 8 months ago, I married Alexander. We did not do this. We did not have 300 guests, or a dress that cost a down payment on a house. We went to City Hall. Afterward, we had dinner at our favorite Italian place, just the two of us, sharing a bottle of wine, and laughing until our sides hurt. It was perfect. It was real. And I did invite them. I sent a package via FedEx. Inside was an invitation to a small celebration dinner we were planning to host a month later. But there was something else in that package too. A cashier's check for $50,000. I knew my parents were struggling. My father, Thomas, had made some bad investments, trying to keep up with the lifestyle they could not afford. They were drowning in a second mortgage. I wanted to help. I wanted to start my marriage with a clean slate, offering them a lifeline so they would not have to stress. It was a peace offering. A thank you for raising me, even if they did not particularly like me. I tracked the package. I saw it was delivered. And then, silence. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. No call, no text, no congratulations, no thank you. Just a void where my family should have been. At first, I was hurt. I thought maybe they were angry I had not told them sooner. Maybe they were embarrassed about the money. I almost called them a dozen times. But then, I stopped. I remembered something I tell my clients. Silence is data. When a company refuses to comment, that is data. When a partner ghosts a meeting, that is data. My family's silence was not an accident, it was a choice. I call it the silence of the archive. Instead of chasing them, instead of begging for an explanation, I decided to archive the relationship. I stopped reaching out. I stopped trying to bridge the gap. I treated their silence not as a punishment they were inflicting on me, but as information they were providing. If they cared, they would have called. If they were grateful, they would have written. If they wanted to be part of my life, they would have made an effort. They did not. So, I waited. I let 8 months pass, without a word. I let them believe whatever narrative Brianna was spinning. I let them think I was alone, bitter, and selfish. Because when you stop chasing people who do not value you, you do not lose them. You find yourself. I looked back through the glass doors. I could see my father, Thomas, laughing with a group of men near the bar. He looked flushed, happy, completely unburdened by the fact that he had not spoken to his oldest daughter in almost a year until today. He did not know about the check. He could not know. If he had seen $50,000, he would have cashed it. He would have called me, weeping with relief. Which meant he never saw it. The package was delivered. Someone signed for it. But it was not my parents. I pulled my phone out of my clutch. It was time to open the case file. I was just about to pull up my email when the door opened. A man stepped out onto the terrace. Alexander. He looked impeccable in a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than my mother's dress, but he wore it with the casual ease of someone who did not need to prove anything. He loosened his tie slightly, the first sign of fatigue I had seen on him all day. Hiding? He asked, his voice low and warm. Observing, I corrected. Slipping my phone back into my clutch. Big difference. He came to stand beside me, leaning against the railing. Your mother asked me where the staff bathroom was earlier. She handed me her empty glass. I winced. I am sorry. They think. I know what they think, he said, cutting me off gently. He was not angry, he was amused. That was the thing about Alexander. He had quiet money. He did not flash it. He did not need to. He was a venture capitalist who specialized in distressed assets. He bought failing companies, fixed them, and sold them. The Vanderbilt estate was one of his passion projects. He had bought the holding company 3 years ago when the previous owners went bankrupt. Technically, he owned the ground we were standing on, the chandeliers above us, and the mortgage on the building. But to my parents, he was just that nice man Jennifer married, or, as my father called him, the venue manager. We had let them believe it. Mostly because Alexander hated attention, but also because I wanted to see how they would treat him when they thought he was help. The answer was poorly. Just then, the glass door slid open. My father, Thomas, stumbled out, his face flushed from too much scotch. He spotted Alexander and snapped his fingers. Hey! You! Buddy! Alexander straightened up, his face a mask of polite service. Yes, Thomas? The wine at table 4 is warm, my father slurred, waving a hand dismissively. It is supposed to be chilled. Can you hop to it? We are paying a fortune for this shindig. I expect better service. I felt my blood run cold. My father was speaking to the owner of the estate like he was a busboy. I will look into it right away, Alexander said, his voice smooth. Good man, my father grunted. Then he turned to me, his eyes narrowing. And you? Stop moping out here, it looks bad. Your mother is trying to take a family photo and you are ruining the aesthetic. He turned and stumbled back inside. I looked at Alexander. He just shrugged. A small, wry smile playing on his lips. The wine probably is warm. The cooling system in the West Wing is finicky. They treat you like garbage, I whispered, my hands balling into fists. They treat people like garbage, Jennifer, he corrected. That is why they are drowning. He was right. My parents were drowning. I knew the truth about this wedding. They had not just dipped into savings. They had refinanced their home. They had maxed out credit cards. They were bleeding money to maintain the illusion that they were wealthy enough to throw a Vanderbilt wedding for their influencer daughter. They were leveraging everything they had for a single day of applause. And the only lifeline they had been offered, my $50,000, had vanished. I need to check something, I said, my voice hard. Go fix the wine. I have to find a package. Alexander kissed my forehead. Go get them, Tiger. He went back inside to play the servant. I stayed on the terrace and pulled out my phone. It was time to find out exactly where my bailout money had gone. I scrolled through my emails until I found the confirmation number. It was dated 8 months ago. FedEx priority overnight. I clicked the tracking link. The page loaded, displaying a green checkmark next to the word, delivered. Delivery date, October 12th. Time, 10:42 a.m. Location, front desk reception. Signed for by B. Miller. I froze. Miller. That was our last name. But my parents were not home during the day. They worked. The only person who would have been home at 10:42 in the morning on a Tuesday was Brianna. She lived with them to save money, which really meant she lived rent-free while building her lifestyle brand. B. Miller, Brianna Miller. She had signed for it. I clicked on the View Proof of Delivery button. The digital signature popped up. It was messy, a quick scrawl on a handheld device, but there was no mistaking the loop of the letter B. My mind raced, connecting the dots. The package arrived. Brianna signed for it. She opened it. She saw the invitation to my wedding dinner. She saw the note about Alexander. And she saw the cashier's check for $50,000 made out to Thomas and Patricia Miller. If she had given it to them, my parents would have called. They would have been ecstatic. They would have paid off the second mortgage. They would not be refinancing their home right now to pay for Crystal stemware. But if she did not give it to them, if she hid it, or destroyed it, why? Why would she throw away $50,000 meant for her own parents? Then it hit me. The narcissistic supply tax again. If my parents were financially stable, if their debts were paid, they would not be as desperate, they would not need a distraction. They would not need to cling to Brianna's wedding as their only source of joy and validation. But more importantly, if I was the one who saved them, if the cold, ungrateful sister was actually the hero who bailed them out, it would destroy Brianna's narrative. It would prove that I was not the villain. It would make me the favorite. And Brianna could not handle that. She intercepted the package to keep me the villain. She sacrificed our parents' financial security just to maintain her status as the golden child. I felt a cold fury settle in my chest. This was not just petty sibling rivalry. This was theft. This was financial abuse. She had let our parents drown in debt just so she could be the only one standing on the lifeboat. I took a screenshot of the delivery confirmation. Then I downloaded the PDF of the signature proof. I opened my banking app. I found the record of the cashier's check. It was never cashed. The funds were still sitting in a holding account, waiting to be claimed or canceled. I had the receipts. I had the timeline. I had the motive. The terrace door opened again. It was Brianna. She was flushed, holding a glass of champagne, looking every inch the triumphant bride. "Jennifer," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Mom said you were out here. Hiding again?" "Just checking my email," I said, not looking up from my phone. "Well, you should come inside. They are about to start the speeches again. Dad wants to say something." She paused, then added, "Try to look happy for me, okay? It is my wedding day. It is not about you." I looked up at her then. Really looked at her. Beneath the expensive makeup and the designer gown, I saw the fear. She was terrified. She knew the house of cards she had built was shaking. "You are right, Brianna," I said, standing up. "It is your day, and I think it is time everyone knew exactly how much you sacrificed to make it happen." She frowned, confused. "What does that mean?" "It means I am coming inside," I said. "And I am bringing the receipts." I walked past her, back into the ballroom. The air conditioning hit me, cold and sharp. Alexander was waiting by the bar. I caught his eye and gave a small nod. It was time to go to work. The ballroom was even louder now. The speeches had resumed. My father, Thomas, was at the microphone, swaying slightly. He was telling a story about Brianna as a child, something about her winning a pageant and always being destined for the spotlight. My mother stood beside him, nodding, her face fixed in a rictus of proud adoration. I walked toward the stage. My heels clicked on the marble floor, a steady, rhythmic sound that cut through the murmur of the crowd. Alexander walked beside me, silent and imposing. My father saw me coming. He faltered. "And, here is Jennifer." He tried to hand the microphone to Brianna, but I took it first. I did not ask for permission. I just took it. The room went quiet again. The same 300 faces that had pitied me an hour ago were now watching with confused anticipation. "Thank you, Dad," I said. My voice was steady, amplified by the expensive sound system Brianna had insisted on. I realized I did not answer Mom's question earlier. I turned to look at my mother. She froze. "You asked when it was going to be my turn," I said. "You asked if my career was enough to keep me warm at night." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. The answer is no. My career is not enough, which is why I am so glad I have not been sleeping alone for the last 8 months. A gasp rippled through the room. 8 months ago, I continued, I married the love of my life. We did not want a spectacle, we just wanted each other. I gestured to Alexander. He stepped forward, into the spotlight. "Mom, Dad, you have been treating Alexander like the hired help all night. You snapped your fingers at him. You complained about the wine. But I think you should know who he actually is. I looked at Alexander. He smiled, a small, private smile just for me. This is Alexander. He is not the venue manager. He is the owner of the holding company that owns this estate. He owns the building, the grounds, and the mortgage you refinanced your house to pay. The color drained from my father's face. My mother looked like she was going to faint. The guests were whispering frantically now. The help was the owner. The spinster was the wife of the billionaire. The narrative was flipping so fast they could not keep up. But I was not done. I tried to tell you, I said, my voice hardening. I sent you an invitation. And I sent you a gift. A cashier's check for $50,000 to pay off your debts, so you would not have to mortgage your future for this party. My mother's eyes widened. What? We never got any money. I know, I said, because you never received the package. I pulled a remote from my pocket. I had snagged it from the AV table on my way up. I pointed it at the massive projection screen behind us, where a slideshow of Brianna's selfies had been playing on a loop. The screen flickered. Then, a new image appeared. It was the FedEx proof of delivery, clear as day. Signed for by B. Miller. Brianna signed for it, I said. The room gasped. It was a collective intake of breath that sucked the oxygen out of the room. She intercepted the package, I continued, my voice calm, factual, lethal. She saw the check. She saw that I was trying to save you. And she hid it. She let you drown in debt. She let you refinance your home. She let you humiliate yourselves trying to pay for this wedding, all because she could not stand the idea of me being the one to save you. I clicked the remote again. The digital signature appeared, zoomed in, that messy, undeniable scrawl. These are the receipts, I said. This is how much your golden child loves you. She loves you enough to bankrupt you. As long as she gets her spotlight. I looked at Brianna. She was sobbing now, her mascara running, her perfect day ruined not by me, but by the truth. You wanted a memorable wedding, Brianna, I said. Now you have one. I dropped the microphone. It hit the floor with a heavy thud that echoed like a gavel. The silence in the ballroom was different now. It was not the awkward silence of a rude toast. It was the heavy, suffocating silence of a shattered illusion. Brianna stood frozen on the stage, her tears mixing with her expensive makeup, ruining the face she had spent hours perfecting. My mother had collapsed into a chair, her hand over her mouth, staring at the screen where the evidence of her favorite daughter's betrayal still glowed. My father, Thomas, looked from the screen to Brianna, then to me. His face was a mask of horror. He realized now that the debt crushing him was not inevitable. It was a choice his golden child had made for him. I walked down the steps from the stage. Alexander met me at the bottom. He did not say a word, he just offered me his arm. As we walked toward the exit, the crowd parted for us like the Red Sea. No one whispered. No one pointed. They just watched, stunned by the absolute destruction of the perfect image they had been sold. Near the door, my mother finally found her voice. Jennifer, she croaked. Wait. I stopped, but I did not turn around. You cannot just leave, she said, her voice shaking. We need to fix this. I turned then. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the last time. I saw a woman who had spent her entire life chasing an image, feeding off her children to sustain it, and who had just realized the cost. There is nothing to fix, Mom, I said. The check has been canceled, the money is gone, and so am I. But family, she started. Family does not steal from you, I cut her off. Family does not treat you like an ATM or a prop. You made your choice 8 months ago when you did not call. You made your choice tonight when you tried to humiliate me. Now, live with it. I turned back to Alexander. Let us go home. We walked out of the ballroom, through the grand foyer, and into the cool night air. Behind us, I heard the murmurs start up again, a tidal wave of gossip that would drown Brianna's reputation by morning. As we reached the car, Alexander opened the door for me. Are you okay? He asked. I took a deep breath, inhaling the salt air. I thought I would feel sad. I thought I would feel guilty. but all I felt was light. I am better than okay, I said. I am done. I got into the car, and as we drove away from the estate, I pulled out my phone one last time. I opened my contacts list. I found Mom, Dad, and Brianna. And one by one, I hit delete. It was not revenge, it was not spite. It was just the final edit on a project that had gone on far too long. I put my phone away and took Alexander's hand. The rearview mirror showed the lights of the estate fading into the distance, a glittering, expensive cage that I had finally, truly escaped. If you have ever had to show the receipts to save yourself, share your story in the comments. I would love to hear how you took back your narrative.